we live in an energetic universe. Everything is energy. And everything has a frequency, including the planets. The eclipses are it's literally when the normal exchange of information between the sun, the moon, and the earth is disrupted momentarily. It means that everybody and everything is impacted by that. And we're in a privileged position to know what is going on, but there are millions and billions of people who don't.
Hi, I'm Genevieve from the New Earth Frequency podcast, and I'm here with Alicia Orre today to talk about the eclipse portal that we're now entering. Alicia is known as the Astrology Queen on the island of Ibiza and an intuitive mentor for soul-led CEOs who are on a mission. Thank you so much for talking to us today. Alicia, before we get into the eclipse portal, can you just do a 101 on the fact that we are all vibration, we're all energy, including our planets, including our stars, so we can kind of really understand how the eclipse portal may affect us.
Of course, and thanks so much for having me. It's been such a beautiful experience being involved with the New Earth Frequency, so I'm really happy to be here and to be able to share this information to help people navigate the eclipses, which is such a powerful portal. And, I like to bring astrology into real practical terms. When we think that we live in an energetic universe, everything is energy, right? And everything has a frequency, including the planets and everything in this universe. We know that the sun and the moon, for instance, communicate with us through light and heat, or magnetism with the tides for the moon. And every single other planet and everything else has a different frequency, almost like a signature or a personality. And when all the planets are moving and in constant communication throughout our lifetime, but when something is created, there is a very unique, specific, energetic exchange that is taking place, which is happening all the time. But when we take a snapshot of that, when something is or somebody is created, i.e. born, then we have frequency or signature embedded in our DNA. And that's what we do through astrology. When we read somebody's birth chart, is a snapshot of how the energetic was performing and showing at that time and in which constellations. And we're able to read that and translate that and use it as an operating manual, so we can meet reach our fullest potential. We can overcome hidden blocks and things that may stop us from doing that, and understand why we're here, ultimately, what our mission is in this lifetime, to be able to achieve it.
Because a lot of us, we used to think, astrology is a little bit, hocus pocus, but to explain it in that literally like these planets, these stars, they have their own frequency. That is science. Yeah. They do. Everything's energy, everything's vibrating. I love that, because that just helps us understand, our birth charts more, how astrology works, why our ancient ancestors were always reading the stars and the impacts of us. Now, eclipses is something that's happened for eons since the universe was created. What is an eclipse portal? Okay. Should we start there?
Let's start with that. So eclipses, we have 2 eclipse seasons a year. And an eclipse season is that the eclipses happen at full moon and new moon. So, it's a 2-week period or a window of time of very disruptive, quite chaotic energy. And chaos is part of the creation process. So it's not, I think we have it has a bit of a stigma when we talk about chaos, that it's like, deal with it, when actually it's part of the creative process. And I think there's something there for us all to reframe what chaos is and what it means, because the actual eclipses that we're experiencing at the moment is about embracing the messiness of a creation process, which I'll explain more about. But going back to your question, the eclipses are it's literally when the normal exchange of information between the sun, the moon, and the earth is disrupted momentarily. So what happens is, because everything is impacted by this huge disruptive energy and all the energy within that is taking place in the universe, it means that everybody and everything is impacted by that. Because it
makes sense.
Yeah, it's a total disruption. It's a bit like turning off your Wi-Fi, your router or your modem, right? And the reason you do that is to refresh and make it run more smoothly. So if you're having like janky Wi-Fi or something, often we'll go and reset the router. So you have that disruptive moment when it's off, and then when it comes back, everything is running smoothly again. It's a bit like that. That's how I like to kind of bring it down into practical terms. There's a real finality to eclipses, because we are the person that we are when we enter eclipse season is not the same person when we exit or when we come out the other side.
And what's the significance specifically of the Pisces Virgo eclipse?
Okay. So the themes of Virgo and Pisces across that axis. So these are very strong themes that are coming up since January this year, all the way through this year into next summer, 26. And they have an impact collectively, so on the collective, and they also have an impact individually. And that really depends where Virgo and Pisces show in your natal chart. But how we look at the energy of Virgo and Pisces, this is the energy of service. So Virgo energy is very structured, organized, and has a plan, right? Has a container. It contains the energy of Pisces, which is the polarity, which is boundaryless. It's unstructured. It's much more about one consciousness, that believing that in something bigger than just ourselves, just us in this meat suit, we're part of something so much bigger. And there's a lot of healing here as well across this axis, and there's a compassion here as well. However, when we look at the lower vibrations of these energies, so we're releasing the lower vibration of Virgo because the South Node, which is our comfort zone collectively and individually, we're releasing that. It's a release point. So we want to release the lower vibrations of Virgo, which is over perfectionism, self-criticism, the monkey mind that we have. Yeah, it's within all of us, right? Needing or relying too much on a plan. One of the things that will prevent us from reaching our full potential, one of the biggest questions is how am I going to do it? It just keeps people in a freeze state, so they don't act. So we're releasing that kind of thing, over perfectionism, procrastination, all of these things that are really based in fear that stop us from moving forward. And where we're going is into this more allowing for this messy, which is what I was saying earlier. The part of the creation process, and Pisces is a very creative energy, is about allowing it to be messy and to make mistakes and to actually move anyway, because it's through that movement that we build, and we take the courage to do that we build the confidence that gives us the structure and the Virgo energy that is valuable to us.
I love that, just by the way, because I've always called myself unstructured. Probably doesn't help if I keep telling myself that. But I love that you're saying when you do feel like you're going through this messy period where you don't have all the answers, just kind of ride through it, because through that something will be birthed, the answer will come, rather than what I would do in the past is super self-critical. Why am I messy? Why am I this way and that? Actually just accepting, actually there might be a force that's going on here and it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I personally love that.
And that's exactly it. It's that, like, trusting yourself, trusting the process. You've got yourself 100% backing yourself. I've got this. I know that it's going to come. And it's getting the balance right of allowing it to come through and surrendering to that truth, which allows for the creative process to evolve, rather than resisting and like, I need to know the answer and trying to control that. So it's having that self-compassion, which is Pisces, falling and leaning more deeply into that, and not getting caught up at all in the fear of missing out, or, the time is running out, because that's not true.
Let things unfold in divine timing, ride through the chaos. So on that, what are the tangible what's the tangible impact of eclipse on us? And second part of that question is, I guess, what can we do to harness the energy of the eclipse individually and collectively?
Yeah. On a collective level, what I'm seeing a lot of, so I'm going to answer your questions backwards if I can try and remember. But on a collective level, and what we're all experiencing, I think, is there's a search for more meaning and more connection, and to have a deeper meaning. So it's about stepping out into how can I serve myself and be of service to others and show up and lead from that space, but with me being in part of that, rather than over delivering and putting everybody else before us. There's a symbiotic relationship there, and it's like, but it feels like this real search for deeper meaning, which is why the birth of the new Earth frequency is so on point, right on time. So I've been watching this carry on, like, with one of the other founders of it. I'm seeing his experience of how it's evolved over this period, and also just being here, having it being birthed as the eclipse energy was growing, right? So we're in eclipse energy, so it's very much influenced by the eclipses. How we can harness this energy, I think one of the, like when I look at eclipses in general and how I approach eclipses is I recognize it as a time when things are going to get busy, there's going to feel intense. And I actually have learned now to not overpack my schedule, because what happens, we get lots of different opportunities and we get lots of things pulling us in different directions. More circumstances like, yep, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that, and fill out our schedules. And then our car will break down. There'll be travel chaos or something, or we'll get sick.
Something we didn't factor in.
And this happens a lot during eclipse seasons, where things just get, they just get really, really rapid.
Almost need to allow more wriggle room during it.
And self-acceptance and surrender and trust, it all plays into it. Even when you're driving to, to the supermarket or wherever it is that you're going and you've got your local journeys, is remembering you're going to hit more traffic. I've been hitting more traffic and I've seen more traffic accidents over the last couple of weeks. And it's like, okay, it's part of it. It's part of this whipping up of chaos taking place. So it shows up in very micro little levels and also the macro. But we also have, like, when we look at the physical kind of symptoms that we can have, it disrupts our sleep. It disrupts our physical body. So we have maybe digestive issues or headaches, or just or feel under the weather and more exhaustion and fatigue. And it shows up. Yeah, exactly. You're experiencing that. And it shows up as like flu-like symptoms sometimes. Yeah. So we're just feeling a little bit under the weather, burn out. So it's allowing for that. Get more sleep, like rest.
Hence don't have the busy schedule.
Exactly. Other things that I see a lot of, there's an increase a lot of the time when you're quite conscious, or when you're conscious and you're present, there's a lot more sequential numbers. Like you'll see 1111 everywhere.
We just saw that. We saw that this morning. And Michael went 1111.
Yeah.
That's so funny, which we never do.
Really?
I mean, well, when I say that, I haven't done that in years.
Yeah.
So
a lot of that goes on, a lot of serendipities, a lot of fated-like happening.
Well, we felt that way with this event.
Yeah.
A lot of synchronicities, a lot of, oh my goodness, how lucky are we that this person just happened to be in Ibiza, etc.
That also ties in very much with the Virgo Pisces axis as well. You are showing up and delivering this incredible experience.
Something of service. Yeah.
Challenge. When I think about, oh my God, what you've created in that time, and it was decided in 10 weeks or whatever. It's like almost impossible, insurmountable, right? But you absolutely nailed it. You pulled it off. It was incredible. It's an incredible start. And that's like the universe conspiring and helping you, because you're and you're doing what is meant. You're using the energy as it should.
Yeah, the momentum.
And part of that is, I know that you're dialed in with it. The more intuitive we are, the more it dialed into nature that we are, and the understanding that we're part of something bigger. I often see in clients that they're already being guided by their intuition. They're listening to that, and it's showing up in the astrology. So you were all following that, and that this is the manifestation of that. And it's, as challenging as it was, you absolutely...
Yeah, and at times, well, it was chaotic. Behind the scenes, it may have even looked like in front of the scenes, there was chaos, but there was you're right, the energy of service and passion and being more authentic, and also being part of it ourselves. So what you were saying before about us not just giving, but also giving to ourselves in this experience as well. Was there anything more you want to cover on the impact of eclipse?
There's about 13 or 14 different things that I'm aware of that takes place, like physically. Like we can feel like everything is going wrong.
Right, yeah.
Everything in every single direction, like, oh my God, everything is going wrong.
Yeah.
And that's actually a sign that it's a signal that either there's a surrender required, and like trying not to control, and also recognizing that is a beautiful portal and a beautiful opportunity to recognize that it's going right. That's part of the creative process. That's the chaotic bit.
I think that's so helpful to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to panic, not to think everything's falling in a heap. Actually, just to ride that, be patient, be kind.
Yeah.
And stick with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust.
As I've said, everybody is impacted and we're in a privileged position to know what is going on, but there are millions and billions of people who don't. And so there can be extra frustration or emotions rising, sometimes aggression, sometimes, we have to recognize that. And in the bigger picture of knowing that it is eclipse season, like we do, we can say, okay, I'm just going to give that some space, or that person some space, or just let the dust settle and not make too many big knee-jerk reactions that you're going to have to unravel once the eclipse energy pass, right? So I think that's a really helpful thing from a community level, is to not rise to things and just give everyone
a bit of a break. And of course, when you look at somebody's birth chart, you can see the individual sort of more personal impact of an eclipse. So when you look at your birth chart, what do you see for yourself?
Well, part of mine is around how I'm showing up. And actually, because there's a golden thread that I see through the eclipses, the energy peaks at certain times. So it peaks during the eclipses. There's an eclipse season in March. We're going through one now. It started in January, really. There'll be more to come next year. So I look at those as big pivots of energy. And I try to see the golden thread through all of those. And at the time in March, I was in a place in my business and my mission where I felt like what I was seeing wasn't sustainable for me. I was losing an interest or passion in what I was doing, and not my work and working with my clients, but how I'm showing up in like on Instagram, and where the talks that I'm having, or the conversations that I'm having felt kind of a little bit flat. And so rather than screw it, I'm done with this, I'm going in a different direction, or even spending too much projecting that energy outward, I looked inward, like what's going on inside? What can I change here? What impact is this happening? Obviously, I can see where the eclipses are happening, so I can dial in and laser focus on those themes because I have that information. So I could see that it was around me, particularly because it was Virgo Pisces, needing more meaning in the way that I'm expressing myself and the conversations that I'm having, not just personally and with my clients and in my business, but how I'm showing up in the wider world, because this is about having a bigger mission and dialing into a bigger mission. So I saw what was being reflected outside of me, and then realized if I'm bored of the conversations that I'm seeing, I'm a leader, right? I can lead myself. We are all self-leaders. So I can have the conversations. I can start those conversations that I want to be having. So I changed my messaging in my business. I started highlighting this in places where I work, in businesses, in masterminds, and with my clients, and started to see the ripple of.
I think that's when I reached out to you in March, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then here we are 6 months later, where not only am I feeling more convicted in my mission and standing more rooted in it, and having experiences where being invited on podcasts, being invited to speak more, showing up publicly in Instagram lives and spreading and being more convicted in that message, that is part of my soul growth. That is part of the growth that I experienced from that point where this is boring. Okay, it's feeling flat. Okay, how can I change it? So I evolved it. And now here we are where the conversations that I'm having with my clients, the kind of clients that I'm attracting, conversations I'm having here. I mean, it was just incredible. And it's just like really being able to embrace that and not feel like, am I going to be judged for this? I'm not sure if I can mention that, but just really fully being much more rooted in my beliefs.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we met years ago, but then I reached out to you for a natal chart reading because actually I think it was May, not March, but it was because I started to see, I really resonated with your messaging. And I also love the fact that you were able to ground the astrology information you were sharing, so I could relate to that. And I also love the fact that you had been on your own journey and come out and transformed yourself. So I was like, I got to listen, I've got to get to know you more. Yeah. So I love that. Now, you did a reading on me and recently you looked at my birth chart in terms of the eclipse. What do you see? We'll just do we've got a few minutes.
Okay. So the eclipse axis, you've got a couple of things going on. We've always got a few things going on. The eclipse axis, the Virgo Pisces axis, is happening across your 12th house and your 6th house. So this is bringing up, and would have been bringing up from the start of the year, maybe a bit earlier than that, things around subconscious beliefs or beliefs that are hidden that are preventing you from reaching your full potential and stepping out into the world and having this existence and experience that has more meaning for you, whatever that looks like, right? So there will be things that are being uncovered or excavated that are coming out that would have happened during the eclipses. Why am I working in this job? This feels, I want more, right? That's the search of meaning, wanting more. I think I'm better than this rather than settling. So you've got that happening. And then on the opposite polarity is around your day to day, how you show up, how you want to spend your time. It's health habits, but it's also our work, because we spend so much of our day in work or in service. So what does that look like? That is also being deconstructed and changed, right? And then the other element of this, which is really significant, is Jupiter in your 10th house, which is something that I specifically pinpointed. So Jupiter is the planet of expansion. And while it hasn't got anything necessarily to do with these eclipses so much, it does play a role. But more importantly, in your 10th house is your career, it's your professional status, it's your purpose, it's how you want to be showing up on the stage of life. And when you have Jupiter here, which is exalted, which means it's really, really, really happy in Cancer, in your 10th house, as it navigates and goes through that house, is bringing a lot of influence, abundance, luck, fortune, being in the right time, the right place kind of energy. It's a transit that only happens every 12 years.
Right, so to really make it most.
So it's time, but it's also expand. So it's time, it's stretching you. With these eclipses, it's stretching you. Look, I'm better than this. I want more than this. There's something not missing, but there's something more here. There's something with more purpose and more, and something I can take it deeper than I am right now. And that can be stretchy and edgy and scary. Sure.
Yeah, it has been at times.
Absolutely. And it will reveal that is getting in the way and what is preventing you. But that call from your heart, that mission that you're here for, will not stop calling unless you answer it. It will just keep pestering you and poking you and ribbing you. And this is what is happening.
And I can attest to that. So we did the reading back in May, and you told me I can see Jupiter is going into your 10th house. And at the time, I was about to launch my jewelry brand, where I was working on a jewelry, because I make handmade jewelry. And I was thinking you were talking about that. And you said to me, this is the time to really go for gold, go for your dreams, go big. I would have never in my life at that time, I would be here, part of the New Earth frequency. Like you said, we only just put this together with like record time of 10 weeks. Nobody who works in events would ever do this. They would tell you you're crazy, but somehow we managed to pull it off because we had the right people that we brought, that we met, and synchronicity played a part. And now we reflected back on Jupiter being in my 10th house. I was like, holy shit. Like, that is expansion for me. This is me stepping into, I feel, my calling. The jewelry plays a part of that, because I feel very called to express my creativity and also my research and love of the mystical. I've always been a mystic. I feel like I've been researching since I was 18. And so, but this is just taking it to a whole nother level. So it's just incredible how accurate that was. Yeah.
And what's beautiful about that is that you had this, I remember you talking about your jewelry and being very kind of, the conversation being contained in that. You wanted to research ancient times and bring that into your designs and things. And what is beautiful about this, and how I see this, like this expansion in your 10th house, which when so many of my clients come to me when they're like that, and I feel like I want to take them by the shoulders and go, you have to use this opportunity. This is so important. And I'm so excited when they do. But you had an idea at that time what that might look like. However, what has transpired, because you surrendered into it, because you listened to the call, you listened to the opportunities that were showing up in real time, because you could have said, no, I don't want to do this, right? You listen to the call, and then what happens when you surrender into that and you take those edgy, scary risks? It works out better than you could ever possibly imagine. Like, you think 6 months ago, you would never imagined.
No, and like
what you create.
This time last year, I left the corporate world and I was in a state of rediscovering myself. I knew it was a pivotal moment. I knew I didn't want to go back into corporate world, but I was like, I know this is an opportunity where I need to figure out who I am and what I want to do, and birth myself. But if I look back now, there were like months of kind of being, a little bit chaotic and not knowing that. And then eventually more and more clarity. And then now here we are today.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
if we hadn't have had that session, if we hadn't have had that conversation and I hadn't have brought that to you, well, how do you think the last 6 months, how would it have changed things, do you think?
I don't know, because sometimes things need to happen in order for the next thing to happen, for conversations to be had. I know, for example, when I went, shouldn't I do this reading with you? I had a very strong message of, you need to do this. You need to know this woman. I was like, you need to have the reading. There's going to be something in that reading that you need to know, but you also need to meet this person. That actually was my decision, this chart. And I don't normally have that all the time, like decisions all the time without thinking, but I had that. And I do believe was to put me instead and to be thinking this way and to harness that energy and be brave enough to step in. And interesting you said about releasing with the eclipse energy, old belief systems, something that for many years I'm still working on, stuff that I've, self-criticism, lack of valuing myself. I can see that dissolving, starting to dissolve finally. I'm not 100% there yet. So I just want to say that. So would it have happened? I think that everything happened in perfect with divine plans. I can't say for sure, but I was definitely meant to have that reading with you. And that did give me...
Did it inform some of your decisions?
Yeah, and gave me the confidence as well when I might have gone, and I was like, hang on, no, this is like Jupiter in my 10th house, which is, you had a massive smile and you're like, this is one of the most exciting things I could possibly have in a reading. So I was like, okay. So, yeah.
I like to get that one across.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. That's part of the beauty, what I love about the work that I do, being able to influence in a good way. It's like we always have choices, but when we know that we can focus on a specific area and there's a focus of energy that is taking place and that you are part of something bigger and there is so much more available to you than what you already know, that's such a good gift to be able to do that.
Yeah, and it's such a gift, and your involvement here in the New Earth frequency has been a massive gift for us. We loved your session as well that you did with Davey, and we went more into the Eclipse portal there as well. If people want to find out more, they can contact you. They want to book readings. You also get booked for retreats.
Yes,
all sorts of things people come to you for. Your main sort of client base are mission-led or soul-led CEOs on a mission, which I love.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that deeper meaning, wanting more than just living paycheck to paycheck. And that, how I see soul-led entrepreneurs and spiritual CEOs, we can think mission, oh my God, that's huge, I haven't got a mission. But we all have a mission. We all have it. And it's just embracing that, whether it's a mission to raise your children, to make sure, to make them the most incredible human beings ever. That is a mission.
Yeah.
Right? And it's helping people dial into that. But I'm very active on Instagram at Alicia Orre. I also have which is quite new. I started it, I think, in August, my Telegram channel where I drop audio transmissions that are real time, very raw, about how to use the astrology and what's occurring astrologically. They're like mini little podcasts in Telegram. That's completely free, and people are loving them and getting so much amazing feedback, because I love doing that. I do that for my clients. I send them little riffs of astrology sessions for them. And then also my activations, which are what you experienced. And I work with people over a much longer period as well, because they're more than astrology readings. They're activations. They activate you to understand your full identity, or next identity, the next chapter that you're going into. And I bring a lot of business strategy into that as well. And also my intuition. There's subconscious reprogramming that I use, and identity work and leadership as well. So it's not just, I don't just say to people, like, this is what's happening to you, you're going to get married, whatever, and that kind of basic level. We go much, much deeper about uncovering who you are and what's stopping you from reaching your full potential, and then how to access it. So where people can't see what's going on, whereas I can look at a chart and I can see and have a short conversation with someone and see exactly what needs to be transformed and how to do it.
And it just helps us understand ourselves more, our place in the world, in the cosmos. Thank you so much, Alicia, for talking to us and for sharing us all the important information about this upcoming eclipse portal and how we can use it to help us and our lives. We're going to drop Alicia's links in the description. So the Telegram, the Instagram, website as well.
I don't have a website.
No
I
website?
do things differently.
She'll read the stars if you.
Yeah, I don't need one.
Thank you so much, Alicia, and thank you everyone for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode.